following is a conversation with Jill Howard Allen. She is a Southwest Airlines alumna. She is a talent acquisition specialist, and she has deep experience in digital marketing and technology startups. This is the Communicating Value podcast. If you like it, please like and subscribe. As you have thoughts, questions, ideas, and suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. And now, here's my conversation with Jill Howard Allen. Okay, so we're talking with Jill Howard Allen, and this is the Communicating Value podcast. It's a podcast for IT and business professionals who are exploring better ways to communicate and create more value. And Jill, I've got to ask you this one question before we get started, so the audience can get to know you a little bit. So, what's your story?
My story is I have a background in marketing, and I have been in roles and positions that have been very entrepreneurial in nature, and I would say business development. It's led me to a position in talent acquisition where I think it's kind of been able to tie everything together.
Wow, that doesn't seem like a smooth path. I mean, how do you translate between marketing and talent acquisition?
Marketing is really kind of the selling and promoting of a product or service. And talent acquisition is the marketing and selling of a person to a company.
Nice.
A value exchange.
Cool. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you. And so the one question, so there's a question that sparks a whole lot of topics that emerge from the question. And I'll ask you the question right now. So, Jill Howard Allen, true or false? Communicating value is hard.
True. I think communicating value is very difficult. I think the tendency is to go towards features and benefits and not truly understanding what the value is, whether it's a product, service, or a person.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, let's. So the format for this is Jill has 3 questions for me, and I have 3 questions for Jill. We knew in advance what those questions would be, so that's okay. And we're going to alternate. And so let's kind of dive right in. Jill, I've got a question for you. Okay. So the question is, just switching camera. So the question is, how can an employee communicate value?
I think an employee can communicate value in a few different ways. And I think one of the ways is to be proactive in any situation, whether it's a project or looking at, ways that things have always been done. There's always ways to improve things and make things better. And who else knows it better than the employee that's doing this every day? And I think that that's one way that they can communicate value is be proactive and express opportunities to improve things. And I would also say that expressing value probably indirectly would be, being a team player, listening, being transparent and honest when you know something or when you don't. Just being honest with that, because I think that helps people work together, and you have to work together. I think that this whole pandemic has shown the importance of working together.
Tell me about kind of listening versus ideating versus suggesting versus, what's the right balance there? Because you don't want to be annoying, but you also don't want to be over there in the corner just listening and kind of keeping your great ideas from the group and some of those might be valuable. How do you balance that?
I do think that is something that is really understanding your team
Mm-hmm.
and listening to them
Mm-hmm.
and understanding where and when conversations are appropriate. So it does take a little bit of emotional intelligence to kind of understand where that is appropriate. But I think the
Mm-hmm.
biggest key is just listening.
Wow.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
People give signals when there's a need for help, and you as a person just being open and honest, I think, can understand when it's appropriate to offer those opportunities of assistance.
Right. Cool. Thank you. Okay, your turn.
Well, Paul, I just have to ask, why this podcast now?
I've got a great quote. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, the pace of change will never be slower than it is right now. What do you think about that?
I would have thought it was quicker now more than ever.
Than it will be. So it's slower now than it ever will be in the future.
Oh, I
Did I
see
say
what you
that
mean.
wrong?
Yep. No, that I get what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah. It'll never be this slow.
I'll
So,
never be this young again.
yeah, right. Good. So given that, I think it's so important to, and in this kind of world, um, spending on talent and on technology, I don't think it can be a liability anymore. It can't be a spend. We can't think spend. We have to think investment. And there are a lot of folks out there, IT and business, who kind of see the future and who kind of need to help each other and stick together. And part of that is getting better at creating and communicating value. So that's why right now. Thank you. Did that answer your question?
It did, and I agree.
Good. Anything to add? Any thoughts?
I think you're right. Right now, things have accelerated so quickly, and it
Mm-hmm.
is so important for people to be able to work together, because you can't do it on your own, and it can't be this very well thought out, well organized path. 'Cause it's
Mm-hmm. Right.
messy and it
Right. Good.
requires teamwork.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Your turn.
Yes.
Or no, my turn. My turn. Okay. Sorry. Okay. My turn. Okay. Here's a question for you, Jill. How does a company communicate value when attracting new talent?
I would say a company can
Mm-hmm.
communicate value when it for attracting talent through the culture that the
Oh.
company expresses.
Mm-hmm.
I think that now you've seen companies that have done this
Mm-hmm.
successfully by kind of going back to the things that an employee can do to express value, and that's
Mm-hmm.
be honest and transparent,
Mm-hmm.
and showing the willingness to work together.
Mm-hmm.
um, the there's stumbles, and that's fine too. People, you can screw up as long as you are open and honest about it. I think that there's been some interesting responses. Airbnb, um,
Mm-hmm.
really kind of struggled with
Mm-hmm.
things. They weren't communicating with their hosts and things like that. And the CEO Brian Chesky wrote this awesome letter to employees communicating what was happening and what was going on. And I think it really showed an authentic response,
Mm-hmm.
and then also followed through with action, posting a talent board on their website of
Oh, wow.
the employees that were going to be let go in a
Mm-hmm.
very competitive Silicon Valley market. I mean, that was the thing that companies were extremely protective about, is their employees. And here he was listing the employees that they had to let go, and redirecting his talent acquisition team to help place those people. Um, Giving assistance to the hosts to reimburse them for the money that they were going to be out because of all of the
Mhm.
refunds and everything. So they
Wow.
walked the walk, they communicated, and they were very open and transparent.
Nice. Wow. I was going to ask you, which companies demonstrate that, and you answered my question. That's
Yes.
awesome. Wow.
And
And
who
what's the
would
story?
you want to
What?
work for, right?
Who?
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the value. You want to work for a company where you feel valued and
Hmm.
respected. And now more than ever, with this many people searching for a job, um,
Hmm.
companies are looking for the best talent, and the best talent is looking for the best company.
Wow. That's a great quote. You can have a whole business around that, right?
Yeah.
Called best. I don't know. Okay, good. Now it's your turn.
Perfect. So, Paul, what do you see as the future of work and talent development?
Awesome. Great question. So, what's the future of work and talent development? And I'm going to tell you three things. Okay, ready?
I'm
Number
ready.
one is okay. Number one is continuous learning. Number two is connector managers, and I'll explain that. And number three, augmentation. Okay. So, number one, continuous learning. We can no longer afford to set aside time for learning, sit in a classroom, you know, take off for a week, um, you know, and there are two reasons for that. Number one, I think there's too much to learn. And by the time you package it into a classroom or a extended webinar format, it's already obsolete or you move it on to something else. So continuous learning in little micro lessons, uh, I think is the future. And I think the companies that understand that and capitalize on that are going to do better. So that's number one. Number two is connector managers. So employee development is important, right?
Yep.
Important to learn. Uh, so there are a lot of managers who really care and really devote a lot of their time to sitting with and mentoring and coaching, and even if it's areas that they're not especially experienced or skilled in, and that's great. Then there are managers who spend a little less time but still try to do the majority of it themselves. And then the connector managers are the ones who don't spend the time, but they understand the needs and the goals and the dreams of their employees, and they connect them with other people and resources instead of getting in the middle and trying to be all things to all employees. So that's the future too. Number two, connector managers. And then number three is augmentation. I think as over the next 5-10 years, I think augmentation through artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to give people superpowers in their jobs. And I think that is going to be amazing. And learn it, one of the things it's going to do is it's going to accelerate learning to the extent that if you need to learn something for tomorrow, you're going to take a minute or two, download something, upload something, and it will be available to you at the speed of thought. Yeah. So
Very
there.
good.
How's
Very
that?
good. I'm very excited about your connector manager response.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading a lot of this Helix approach to
Mm-hmm.
teams management of projects and processes,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of doing these little pockets of team. Collaboration has been something that I think has been in discussion for a while now. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that what we've seen is, to your point, businesses need to respond faster more than ever. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that with this big, what do I want to say, like the pyramid, you
Yeah.
know, this hierarchical
Oh,
approach to
right.
things. It needs to be more nimble and quick. And I think to the connector manager is also someone that's able to pull in resources that are needed to work on a project or a process quickly, and pull all those resources together.
Right, right. And because a lot of those little projects, little tasks are going to be experiments. They don't deserve a lot of investment because they might not turn out, but they need to be explored, right?
Exactly. And I think that companies and customers are tolerating more risk and failure now more than ever, because nobody knows what they're doing right now. We're in unexplored waters.
That's right. Good. Okay, good. Thank you. Whose turn is it? Is it my turn?
Yes.
Yes, it's my turn. Okay, good. So, okay, so here's a question for you, Jill. Who is one of your heroes?
I really like this question, especially now, because I think that the current environment has really kind of helped pull out the true character of people. And one of the people that I've been most intrigued with, which is Angela Merkel from Germany.
Oh,
She
cool.
is I did not realize that she is a quantum chemist. And
Wow.
her response during this whole pandemic, she's not somebody that's this great speaker, but she saw a country in crisis and she was the leader and she had to step it up. And she did that. And she drew upon her expertise as a chemist and
Wow.
also her, I think, authentic nature and care and concern for the country and its health. And really kind of helped pull the country together and rally. And they responded well because of that. That's a hero to me.
Nice. Thank you. That's great. So for those of you who don't know, Angela Merkel is the Chancellor of Germany. All right.
So
Okay. Yes.
who is your hero?
Oh,
Or who are some of your heroes?
right. So who are my heroes? I'll give you three. Patrick Lencioni, Clayton Christensen, and Eric Ries. So Lencioni wrote books like The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. His whole concept of organizational health is just mind-blowing. Clayton Christensen, as you know, started out with The Innovator's Dilemma and went on to do a bunch of other books and things, but all around innovation and the kind of hidden secrets of how to kind of navigate all that. And then Eric Ries, of course, is the lean startup guy. And so all those guys have had a big influence on me over the years. So those are three of them. How's that?
That's very good. That's very good. And actually, I'm gonna have somebody else as my. I'd like to add another hero.
Go ahead.
She is somebody that is not well known, but she's a friend of mine. Her name is Sharon Ballard, and she's currently the
Sharon
CEO.
what? How do you spell that?
Sharon Ballard, Ballard.
Got it. Okay.
B as in boy. She's the CEO of New Shores Biosciences, which is a bioscience startup in Little Rock, Arkansas. And she is my hero because she is one of those folks that demonstrates that I think authentic, honest quality that also is very big on teamwork. She's a super smart lady and she knows when she doesn't know something, and she is humble enough to ask for help and to recognize that that type of expertise and talent in someone else. And I think that is what is going to make her very successful with New Shores.
Awesome. How did you meet her?
She is actually, she has a very diverse background. But I met Sharon through working with the Small Business Innovation Research, Small Business Technology Transfer Program. And she has helped companies from Qualcomm to New Shores Biosciences
Hmm.
obtain funding through the SBIR STTR program and commercialize.
Wow, very cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Okay, are you ready for the surprise question?
I am ready.
So, knowing what you know and thinking ahead 5 years, Jill Howard Allen, what do you think in the year 2025 will be one of the biggest surprises for most people, but not for you?
Wow, that's a really good question. What will be one of the biggest surprises for most people, but not me?
Hmm.
Goodness. I have to think a little bit about that one.
Hmm.
Um, I think what I will say is that we will see that despite all of the negative, kind of horrible things that are going on now, I think what
Hmm.
this will do is it will really pull the good from everyone.
Hmm.
And I think what we're going to see is a country and a world that will actually be closer than it has been. And I, I'm going to quote Anne Frank, but it's not a direct quote,
Okay.
but it's something that despite all of the, kind of the bad things in people, people are really good.
Hmm. Nice.
By nature, they are good. And we'll see that.
Nice.
So after the interview, Jill sent me the full quote, and I had to include it here. In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder, which will destroy us too. I can feel the sufferings of millions, and yet, if I look up into the heavens, I think that it will all come right. That this cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. And now back to the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So I think we did it. Unless you have any more questions for me?
Well, I have a surprise. Yes, I'll have to have a surprise question for you.
Okay.
It, and actually, Paul, that's a really good question. I really like that question. So I'm going to just ask that of you because you've obviously thought about it. So it's not a surprise, I guess.
Okay. So, and I really haven't. I was not prepared to answer this question, but yeah, I think in 5 years we're going to have, three surprises, and I think financially, around work,
Uh-huh.
and maybe just two surprises. Okay, two surprises. So I think financially, I think we're going to have a global universal currency doesn't replace the U.S. dollar, but it augments people's ability to do business and exchange value in real time anywhere. It might be Bitcoin, it might be something else, but I think in 5 years we're going to have that, and it's going to change the economy in a good way forever. Uh, things like micro payments and streaming payments and instant, trustless, decentralized transactions are going to be awesome. Uh, so that's financial. And then around work, I think we're going to, I think we're going to see an exponential rise in virtual collaboration capabilities, especially since I don't think all of us are going back to the office, even after this is done. And so I think there's going to be a huge opportunity to make this, what we're doing, easier, more effortless, with less friction. So I think it's exciting. I think, yeah, we're be like Star Trek, I think. I'll just materialize.
I like that. I have another question for you.
Yes, fire away.
What are some of the things, or what is something that you do now to stay positive?
Oh, good. Yeah. So every morning, to stay positive, every morning I write down at least 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it could be one simple one and one, compliment. Like most days it's, hey, it's a beautiful day, unless it's raining and cloudy, and then it wouldn't be, of course. But yeah. So a gratitude list, a short list every day. How about you? What do you do every day, Jill Howard Allen, to stay positive?
I've been trying to be more aware, like you said. We have had this amazing weather for June, the last couple of days here in Arizona, and being grateful for that. Being grateful, just recognizing that, like, when I'm on a happy hour Zoom with my family or friends, that I can do that, and that I have, actually a pretty cool family. Don't tell them that. And some great friends. But just to be more appreciative of some of the simple things I've tried to become more aware of.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay. So if somebody in our audience wants to get a hold of you, connect with you, how can they find you?
They can email me at jill@talentsearchllc.com.
Nice.
Or they can call me.
So if you want to call Jill, put that in the comments and we'll connect you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jill. This was really fun. And let's do it again.
Sounds good. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate you having me.